Good afternoon, YouTubers. This is your zip code Farik Mashaini in the 92887 on his lunch break and going on our virtual zip code tour. Today's is here in California. In fact, here in Orange County, almost in my backyard. Zip code 92683, Westminster, California. It was started in 1872 by a man by the name of Lemuel Weber. He's a reverend. Actually, 1870, sorry. A couple years before I thought. Temperance, for those of you that don't know, was a code word back in the 19th century for those that abstained from alcohol and also disapproved of selling or indeed making and manufacturing the stuff. So it started out as a dry place, so to speak. Eventually, it became the city of Westminster. It was called that originally, and it added with a place called Barber City to the west to become what's the Westminster of today, and that was in 1957. In any event, Westminster is famous for a court case in 1947 of Mendez versus the city of Westminster for school segregation that was going on back then between Mexican Americans and everybody else. The Mendez family sued this Westminster and won the case, and that began the desegregation of schools in that area, and indeed not anywhere it was going on. So in the state, I believe. So Mexican Americans would be going to school with everybody else. It was unfortunate that ever happened. Anyway, today's Westminster has a population of 90,857. The zip code has a population of 92,098. There are bits and pieces of Garden Grove, Huntington Beach, and a place called Midway City. Midway City was originally supposed to be part of Westminster, but never joined up. It's still unincorporated Orange County today, right off there of Beach Boulevard and roundabout Hazard or so. There are a number of different little neighborhoods there, the most famous of which is Little Saigon. But there's also the Civic Center neighborhood and Indian Village, which is right by the 405 and Edwards. And there's a bunch of other neighborhoods, too. Westminster, by and large, has a number of different vibes going on, and they're all pretty good. But Little Saigon's probably the most well-known in the mid 70s. Starting with that, a lot of Vietnamese Americans came to this country, and a lot of them settled in Orange County, and specifically Westminster. In 2010, it was the highest. The highest number of Vietnamese anywhere in the U.S. Municipality were in Westminster. That is not the case now, but it's still, I think, by percentage, the highest in the United States. And they've made Little Saigon in Westminster the most famous one in all the country. Although there are now other towns with Little Saigons, including Oklahoma City and San Jose. San Jose is now the city with the largest number of Vietnamese Americans. Westminster is no longer that, but it's still fifth in number, and it's first in percentage of population. About 40% of the population has Vietnamese ancestry in Westminster. But oddly enough, most of them came before 1990, and then it slowed down a lot to the point where there's not as many foreign-born people in Westminster as before. A lot of them were either born here or those that came originally moved on to other places or passed on. Today, as of 2020 census, the most common place for foreigners to be from is Thailand, and then followed by Honduras. So kind of interesting change of events there. The Vietnamese community is still very strong, but it's mostly American citizens now. Beach Boulevard is one of the main thoroughfares, but there's also the 22 freeway and the 405. They intersect not pretty close to Westminster's border. And Westminster's very close to the beach as well, close to border Seal Beach and Huntington Beach both, and it's about 7 miles from the ocean or so. The climate is pretty much very well-known Mediterranean Southern California climate. The January high is 69 degrees. January low is about 46.9. Right now in May, it would be 75 for the high and 55.9 for the low. In August, the average high temperature is 84 and the low is 64. So it's not quite Huntington Beach, but it's pretty close. It's average about 14 inches of rain a year. There's some famous people there, but one of the ones that really got me was Nguyen Cao Ky. He passed away back in 2011, but he was the former prime minister of South Vietnam, and he eventually ended up in Westminster, and he was running a liquor store. And he lived here. He lived in the area. So very interesting. Probably the most famous person that would be known ever to have been there in Westminster. Anyway, hit like, hit subscribe. Even if you don't like, leave a comment in the comment section below, one way or the other. Thank you very much for listening about Westminster, California 92683, and we'll see you in the next video.